Primal Chaos.
Hey guys, Primal Chaos here. Welcome to the channel. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Enchroma Glasses. Enchroma makes corrective lenses and glasses for people with all kinds of color deficiencies. So if you're colorblind or you know someone who is, check out their website. And if you use the code CHAOS in checkout, CHAOS, you'll get 10% off. Tell them Primal Chaos sent you. All right, so this is going to be another one of these in my long line of trying to fix some missteps I've taken historically with not listening to or not taking notice of bands that are very pivotal and, you know, that are just part of the zeitgeist of rock. Now, Coldplay, I think it would be an absolute lie of me to say I'd never heard Coldplay. I don't think there's a person on the planet who hasn't heard Coldplay. I don't know this song. Having said that, I'd be lying if I said I probably haven't heard it. I might recognize it as soon as it starts playing. I'm not familiar with the title, though. I'm not a Coldplay fan. I don't have anything against Coldplay. I've never sat there and gone, I don't like Coldplay. I just never really paid them much notice, right? I'm going to jump right in. And yeah, like I said, I may know this song, but at the end of the day, there's a difference between having heard a song and critically listening to a song in the nature of something like what I'm doing here. My methodology is typically pulling things apart and analyzing them and understanding them piece by piece. So I will be pausing and stopping a fair bit. Yeah, I just want to get to the bottom of what is it about Coldplay that just makes them so universally accessible to just general audiences of music fans and rock fans. So let's take a look. This is Coldplay, Viva La Vida. Oh yeah, I've heard this song, yeah.
When I gave the word, now in the morning I sleep alone. Sweep the streets I used to own.
Chris Martin. I love the pulse. It's really good. Oh, wow. So I just want to go back a little bit. There's a really nice evolution of the backing instruments throughout this part. That's one of those things that's super important with a song like this that's going to grow over time, but it's real easy to screw up. It's real easy to not give it the weight that it deserves. Like if you listen to... You can hear the zoom from the strings. And they just come in slowly over time. You hear the violins come through. Really nicely orchestrated.
I used to roll the dice, feel the fear in my enemy's eyes. Listen as the crowd.
Nice weighty lyrics too, very anthemic.
Now the old king is dead, long live the king. 1 minute I held the key. Next the walls were closed on me, and I discovered that my castle stand upon pillars of salt and pillars of sand. I hear Jerusalem bells ringing, Roman cavalry choirs are singing. Be my mirror, my sword and shield, my missionaries in a foreign field. For some reason I can't explain, once you've gone, it was never alone.
Wow.
That was when I ruled the world.
Okay, we'll go back through that, but this is why you've got to give things that you never paid much attention to. You got to give them the time of day to understand them. You know, what's super interesting here is that you've got like this 5-piece rock band, but almost zero music in there is being played by a 5-piece rock band. It's all very basic stuff. All of the flesh and blood of this song it's essentially an orchestral movement, right? It's not a rock song. And I'm sure they have rock songs and stuff like that. This doesn't strike me as being their standard operating procedure, but just when those timpani rolls hit, it just makes your heart lift. Where was it? I'm not sure. Oh, the other thing too is Chris's voice is interesting too, because it's very clean. He sort of can pull up into just a nice head voice when necessary. But he's not, doesn't have an aggressive tone or anything like that. But what's really striking so far is those lyrics. I don't know, I'm going to have to read them in context to really get a taste of what they're about. But there's a magic in being able to drop line after line that sounds important and weighty and has like a gravitas to it by the nature of the words chosen. You know, I felt the fear in my enemy's eyes, right? And something about, you know, being built on pillars of sand and things like that. It's just got this classic literary poeticism to it that is unmistakable, and it's clear enough that even though you don't know what the song's about, you can pick out these little missives kind of piecemeal and just go, oh my God, that's means something. And so therefore the song's important, or it must mean something. You know, but you get swept up in the music, so it doesn't matter so much. You just sort of take that and put it aside as like, okay, this is an important track. It's an important song. It's an important message. It's clever charlatanism, but man, he's good at it. That's for sure.
Now the old king is dead, long live the king. 1 minute I held the key. Next the walls were closed on me, and I discovered that my castle stand upon pillars of salt and pillars of sand. I hear Jerusalem bells are ringing, Roman
And then the strings swell and lift. Man, it's so good.
mirror, my sword and shield, my missionaries in a fire.
You got to have a ship's bell. I mean, why wouldn't you?
Some reason I can't explain. Once you've gone, it was never alone.
And again, the bass player is just keeping it all together, right?
That was when I
Because all we've got is a kick drum for rhythm and those timpanis. And then you got this spooky, dreamlike sort of thing going on.
It was the wicked and wild wind blew down the door.
Another interesting point there is
It was the wicked and wild.
one. So I love it when a vocalist comes in on, like, it's kind of an anacrusis sort of thing where they come in with half the line before the bar comes in, because it always throws the rhythm off just a little bit enough so that the vocalist has an interesting groove, right? It's a real simple way. If he came in with a lyric that started on that 1, 2, 3, 4, everything's because again, the rhythm is it's pretty straight. It's only that kick drum, bop, 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 bop. And if I sang this and that, it would be boring. But if you're like 1, 2, 3, and I'm a 1, you know, you get this kind of interesting sort of flow into the next verse. And it means that he's starting the one halfway through a lyric, you know, and it's not uncommon. I just love when artists have the foresight to do that. It means that they're thinking with their feel rather than what's on the page lyrically, or, you know, or like just trying to come up with something that's like a straight melody, right? Listen when it comes back in. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1.
Wild wind blew down the doors to let me in. Shattered windows and the sound of drums. People couldn't believe what I'd become. Revolutionaries wait for my head on a silver plate, just a puppet on a lonely string. Oh, who would ever wanna be king? I hear Jerusalem bells are ringing, Roman cavalry choirs are singing. Mirror, mirror, my sword and shield, my missionaries in a foreign field. For some reason I can't explain, I know St. Peter won't call my name ever alone this word, but that was when I ruled the world.
So I'm going to have a stab at the lyrics, and then I'm going to read the lyrics real quick, and then I'm going to try and see how right I was. The cool thing about it is, like what I was talking about with the gravitas of the lyrics and all that sort of stuff. What I was trying to get at is it sounds like a timeless story, right? Like when you think about things like that, it evokes to me a storyteller telling a story that goes through different ages, right? So it reminds me a little bit of Interview with the Vampire, where you've got Louis telling to a modern reporter, a modern for the time, telling the history that goes back through generations of his lifespan, right? That was when I ruled the world and when I was king and all that sort of stuff. And it's going through, he's talking about all these ages. But then in the last bit there, I caught a sensation they're talking about being in battle and being a warrior about to create a historical moment and feeling the weight of that from the perspective of an individual. And I know St. Peter won't call my name because nobody runs into the battlefield expecting to die. Everybody thinks they're the hero that's going to live, right? Otherwise, they wouldn't be running into the battlefield, unless it's like, there's no other choice. But now, so I'm a bit confused. I don't know whether it's like somebody, like a being sort of trying to telling their story essentially, and all the battles and stuff that it took to be king, and then probably their fall from grace and all that sort of stuff. I don't know, but I'm going to look it up right now, and I'll be back in a second. So it's actually really interesting. I'm not sure if it's written about anyone specific. I know that there's things that sort of place it in time with Roman cavalry's choirs are singing, and how I can hear them across the way or whatever. But regardless, it's interesting in that it's similar to what I thought. It's like he's explaining his dynasty, and I used to rule the world. Seas would rise when I gave the word. Now in the morning I sleep alone, sweep the streets I used to own. That says everything right there in the first verse. But it was about how he used to be a warrior and a conqueror, right? I used to roll the dice, feel the fear in my enemy's eyes, listen as the crowd would sing, and then he elevates to the status of king, right? Now the old king is dead, long live the king. And then it goes through a little bit more, chorus, verse, whatever. And then it's like, then it's the downfall of the king, the power corrupts or whatever, and people are unhappy with the rule. It was the wicked and wild wind blew down the doors that let me in, shattered windows, and the sound of drums. People couldn't believe what I'd become. So everybody's coming to take down the king. And then that sort of ties in with I discovered that my castles stand upon pillars of salt and pillars of sand, right? So for whatever reason, the public opinion is turned against him, and then they're coming for him in like what sounds like an angry mob, right? Revolutionaries wait for my head on a silver plate. So then, everybody wants to be king. Everybody wants to take over the role of king until they have it. And then, the cycle continues, right? Just a puppet on a lonely string. Oh, who would ever want to be king? The realization hits in, right? So I'd be interested to know if this is like a biographical story. It could be even about Jesus, but it's only because it says Jerusalem and the Roman cavalry. But I don't know how that relates in any way to any biblical story I know. So it's just, I love these sort of stories that just are talking about dynasties from the perspective of like reflection, like thinking back through history. It's so much cooler than just writing a song about some chick who broke your heart, right? There's so much more to it. And the way that they've deftly sort of been able to sort of orchestrate music around it that has that sort of elevation and that sort of energy that sort of matches the aesthetic of the lyrics is so wonderful. I'm going to jump back in.
Never alone this word, but that was when I ruled the
Damn. They're just great at making these musical snapshots that feel important, right?
That was when I ruled the world.
Interesting. I love that little tag at the end there. That's great. So it feels like it's going somewhere else. It might have led into something else on the album, but just in that little bit at the end, it's just like, it just gives this weird impression that, but wait, we're not done, you know? I really love that. That's cool. Wow. I did not expect to find this engaging. I mean, for a band that I've largely ignored for my entire music listening career, not because I had any prejudice against Coldplay. I know that a lot of people do in the metal community. There's probably a lot of people who love Coldplay, you know? But I've always prided myself on never really listening to the mob. I like what I like, and I like it without justification, right? And I believe in imparting that on everybody around me. You know, if anybody ever likes something, I'm the last person to say that's dumb, you shouldn't like that. I'll still make fun of them, but I still, at the same time, I'll encourage people to express themselves through the arts that they consume, right? It's like, don't ever be ashamed of what you like. That's the worst thing you can do. The worst thing you can do is to criticize somebody's laugh, because there's nothing worse than somebody being too embarrassed to laugh out loud, right? And it's the same with music and stuff. Allowing people to express who they are through the things that they love is so stifling. Like, to take that away from somebody is probably one of the worst things you could do. But you know, I don't look, at the end of the day, I'm talking about a band that has literally hundreds of millions of fans. So, and I've seen some footage from some of their tours that looked absolutely magical. So, you know, I'm really just talking about when you run in circles with a lot of people who like pretty extreme music, they tend to have tastes that divert as far as possible away from the status quo and just mainstream music, video, television music, you know, pop rock sort of stuff. So the vast majority of people would probably connect with this a lot better than the music that some people who get a bit funny about this sort of stuff would like, you know? And, yeah, but look, at the end of the day, this was a magical journey. I'm almost a little bit jealous. Sorry, I had a auto dialer call. This is becoming a real problem where I live. Yeah, so like, I'm a little bit jealous about the ability of just such a beautiful production. The way this song builds and lifts right at the right moments, and just the emotional capacity that they've managed to fit into 4 minutes is absolutely stellar and beautifully stunning. Yeah, I'm really impressed. And you know what? Let me know in the comments. Where should I go next? What do you think is Coldplay's biggest hit? Like, as far as like that, where they've just nailed it. Because I'll definitely check out more of these guys. It's super interesting to see what they're capable of. But I'd really like to hear something else that's maybe just a little bit more rock, and see as a core rock band, what they sound like and what they do, what they're capable of. That would be super interesting. But yeah, that's about all I got to say. At the end of the day, love what you love. If this is what you love, then you're probably making a good choice. But yeah, thanks again if you stuck around this long. If you want to support the channel, just feel free to buy me a coffee. I'll leave a link in the description. But more importantly, I really want to get a lot of this stuff out there in the world. And the best way to do that is if you just hit subscribe. If it's your first time here, or your 100th time here, if you're not subscribed. I think something like 85% of all views on my channel are unsubscribed, which sounds crazy to me. So just hit the button. It's all good. And thanks again, guys. I'll catch you on the next one. Hey guys, this video is made possible by Enchroma. 1 in 6 guys and 1 in 200 women are colorblind, and if that happens to be you, there's something you can do about it. Click the link in the description, it'll take you to Enchroma's website where you can get a free eye test, and while you're there, maybe pick up some corrective lenses. They've got styles to suit everybody and a 60-day money-back guarantee, so you got really nothing to lose. And while you're there, use the code CHAOS in checkout to get 10% off. Tell them Primal Chaos sent you.